Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience what you do?
My name's Mariah-Jane Thies, and by profession, I am a movement and dance teacher.
So what does a movement and dance teacher do?
Well, some of the most obvious stuff is I'm in a dance studio a lot, teaching kids and teens ballet, modern musical theater, but I also do like one-on-one coaching and stuff like that, more about people's movement habits, developmental patterns, and using movement actually to help integrate the brain.
Like when I was doing personal training, I had to do movement exercises like bear crawls, and like I actually didn't understand how difficult it was to move like an animal.
Absolutely. Yeah, some of our most basic programming of how we're first wired goes through, actually one of the things we do is bear walking. And it's foundational. And sometimes going back to those foundations reveals a lot.
But in your words, what's the benefit of just movement in general?
Movement in general for me is about having an opportunity to really embody your body and experiencing your life in a really full way. I think it's our vessel for interacting with life, and I'm also a big believer in like a healthy movement diet that is diverse, and therefore you use your movement skills to actually have life skills.
So now I'm just reminiscing of when I was moving, and I move because it's that old adage like machinery. If you don't keep it lubricated and moving, it just rusts out. How does body movement interact with brain activity?
Excellent question. And so I started all my dance training kind of with the same view, and it wasn't till I discovered about the developmental movement patterns that realizing that movement is actually what first wires our brain. We don't have conscious thoughts to go do something when we're starting to move, like I'm talking your first year of life. And so it's actually our movements are all wiring the brain, and therefore when we go back and we make sure that they're really well ingrained, even with stress, then we have all of our skills we're meant to have.
Well, so what brings a movement specialist to VoiceStory Live?
Excellent question, of course. I don't think it's my movement background that particularly brings me here. It's more my personal life. And in a weird way, actually, it's a big piece of personal development to admit something that, having been in the personal development world, like I said, not just using movement to train dancers, but to actually enhance who we are, I kind of thought that I had it all together and that I was doing a pretty good job of my personal development, yet I still had some conditioning that the movement never erased. That's shown up, and that's a lot of what I'm going to share tonight.
So through the process of crafting your story, what was the most challenging moment? If there was.
There was, oh yeah. I think you got to witness it when we were discussing things. I think ironically, again, for a movement coach, talking about embodiment, to fully feel some of the things that I had kind of put away, and shame being probably the biggest one. When you're not living your life to your fullest and you're helping to teach others to do it, it's kind of embarrassing or got shame around it to go, how come I'm not, in a sense, practicing what I preach? So when I realized that I had a untapped little well and I hadn't lifted the lid on that well of shame, I had a few rough days after unlocking that.
What's something that you're going to take away from this experience?
When you try to craft a story to share, you start looking at all the pieces that you think are important, right? And then it's sort of a sifting process then of saying, what are the pieces of this part that I consider my history, at least related to this, that I think are important? And I think the biggest piece I came from it is that when you start to give voice to all the little pieces, the ones that didn't have a voice start to show up and ask to be voiced. Right? It's like, yeah, I'm filling in a puzzle, and I thought I did the framework, and then the main piece is sitting there going, yeah, pick me, come on, it's about time.
Right.
And so I finally did that.
So what was, now that we're nearing the end of the process, what was something that you found enlightening?
Enlightening? I guess it's just the excavation of your stories. And when you have to keep working on something, you keep digging another layer. And so the thing that I guess I discovered is I had more to say about something than I thought I did. Do you mean more about the enlightenment of crafting it actually to speak?
However it lands for you.
Well, it remains to be seen how vulnerable I'm willing to be. But what I've prepared, the enlightening part is actually that I'm willing to share this. Because if you'd asked me a month ago, hey, do you feel like going around telling somebody this? I'd be like, why would I do that? That's not doesn't need to be on my resume. And in fact, doesn't even need to be stuff I share with pretty much anybody. And now I would say the part that was enlightened, if you will, is that don't need to be ashamed to share it because it could be helpful. Years ago when I went through a divorce, he did illegal crap, which meant I didn't get any money. And then I had people steal my business, which meant I didn't get any money, which meant I was ultimately actually too poor to go bankrupt, which sounds ridiculous, but it was true. And it was a dire situation where I actually had to admit it to people. And I was stunned, the number of friends that I had and had known for years who had never said, I went through the same thing, or I went bankrupt. It was like this little secret, but as soon as you say it, all these people pop up going, oh, me too, me too, me too. And so now I'm kind of going, okay, I've always been willing to be a bit of a leader, and maybe this other piece can be something that I'm willing to share, and it'll help others by them not hiding it.